Hey, welcome back to the Depleted podcast, where we discuss all things World of Warcraft. Today is February 21st, 2021. I'm Tarithal, and joining with me is Spoogy.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, man. You do anything interesting this week?
No, this was a kind of an off week for me. It was my daughter's birthday, so I was spending a lot of time with the family. And I did have the brand new mage, and I played catch up. I felt like it was all week with what little time I had doing the renown and trying to get some of the freebie gears, the time walking and whatnot. So
Okay. Did you do any of the Covenant campaign?
yeah, I hit a wall. Apparently, there's like I think around 17. I'm at Renown 16 now, and you got to get to 17 in order to continue the
To actually
storyline.
progress it? Okay, I didn't know that.
Right. Yeah, I didn't either. I am not quite sure what I have to do. I know you can get some through BGs and Mythic Plus, I think.
Yeah, the quickest way when I leveled my second, or I guess my third or fourth character at that point, actually do an LFR. If you do LFR, and then if you can somehow get into like a normal raid, what will happen is you'll end up getting a couple renown tokens.
I had no idea. Totally forgot LFR was even a thing, to be honest with you, until you just said something. What's the item level there?
It's like 194, 197, something like that.
Not too bad from where I'm at right now. How was your week?
Oh, not too bad. We did our full heroic clear, which went really well. We pretty much, at this point, we're just one-shotting every boss on repeat. And I don't know, maybe we'll start being able to sell AOTC and try to build up some guild funds, which would be cool. Other than that, we worked on Hungering Destroyer, which we tried out a couple new strategies for that. None of them were overly promising. I think we got it down to 50% a couple times, which is actually kind of a step back from last time we worked on it. But
I think at one point you guys were kind of getting it down to almost 30%.
yeah, we had a couple of 33% pulls maybe like 3 weeks ago. We had pretty much an entirely different raid group at that time. And we were doing like a 4 tank strat, which if you've ever watched like Limit Max's video, he said never to do that. But so far that's been our best strategy. Currently we're doing like a 2 group strat, which essentially flips the responsibilities of the raiders around. Typically you have like your miasma targets, right? And typically
Right.
the raiders will walk in and try to actually top them up. And in this strategy, you have basically everyone stacked up, and the miasma targets walk into the actual people that are stacked and top themselves off. So overall, we thought maybe it would kind of be easier, and it hasn't really turned out to be that way. So I don't know. We'll see. I think we're gonna continue working on the 2 group strat, but yeah, a little bit of progress on that. Other than that, pretty much the rest of my week, I worked on a brand new UI. I just built it from the ground up, and that's kind of been my weekly project. Is just kind of perfecting that.
I only got 2 Mythic Plus keys in this week, and that was on my Druid.
Yeah, we did those together.
The week I didn't get screwed this week. I had one option in the vault, and it turned out to be an upgrade, but that can't keep going. I'm eventually going to get burned on it. So I've got 2 keys down, and I'm kind of at that threshold where I'm wondering, should I pound out those next 2 tomorrow? Still got to do my chore gas and all that stuff too. So
I'm kind of in the same boat. I've got 2 choices available on my Demon Hunter currently, but I think I have 3 14s done, and then I have like a random like 11 or something like that. So my second reward isn't going to be a 226. I think it would only be a 220. And then on my Monk, I think I'm currently 3 14s done. So both of those characters, I'm going to end up having to do a 14 tomorrow before reset. And then on top of that, the guild wants to do RBGs, and so we'll see if I can fit it in.
have you done your chore gas though on your monk?
I don't think I've done chore gas on any of my characters this week. Actually, I think I just completely ignored it, which is probably a mistake. But I don't know. In between doing two more 14 pluses, doing chore gas 6 times total because I got to do it on 3 different characters, and then trying to maybe fit in some RBGs tomorrow. That's gonna be a lot. And then of course everyone else is gonna be wanting to do keys or whatever because they kind of know that I'm the guy that does keys on Mondays. So
Yeah, I actually tried to do the chore gas today. And on the mage, who is probably like 160 item level, I got to the slime boss. I made
okay.
it all the way through layer 8,
Mm-hmm.
floor 8, layer 6, or vice versa. Either way, made it all the way to the slime boss and tried it so many different times. Burned up all my deaths. I was invising when I knew I couldn't do anymore, and just resetting it and trying it again. And eventually, I just ended up summoning Targru. Is that his name?
Yeah, it's our group. The big guy that chases you out of Torghast when you run out of lives.
Yeah, and he came up and one shot me a couple of times, and I was so salty at that moment. But that's about the time you were mentioning some keys, so I jumped over and did that. So,
But you actually went in on your fresh mage into an 8, then it made it all the way to the end boss.
yeah, I did.
That's pretty impressive.
It was a slow go, which made the ending even more depressing because I had,
Yeah,
taken my time and like worked my way up there. And
that's exactly how I felt on my rogue. The very first character. Oh, I guess he was the second character I leveled. I leveled the Demon Hunter first, then I made a rogue. But I think I put most of my time into the rogue, maybe the first 2 weeks of the expansion.
mm-hmm.
And back then, like even a floor 3 was kind of hard. And I remember getting to the boss, just blowing through it, and then getting to the boss and just getting shut down and having like an hour of my time wasted, which is really annoying.
I got a carry last week in Torghast, and I ended up just taking the course option, which was available last week,
Mm-hmm.
and just getting all the upgrades for that, so I could actually, I was useful in the fact that I could heal my partner
Right.
on the mage, and I could also have that. There was one upgrade that lets you have a pretty spammable interrupt. So
Right. Yeah, I did that on one of my characters. That was pretty fun.
yeah, I wasn't completely useless, but I definitely got carried by a buddy on that one. So I do need to get it done tomorrow, though. So I'm gonna have to rope somebody into it so I can get it done.
Well, I'll probably end up doing it with you because I probably shouldn't fall behind on that. It's not like I really need any legendaries immediately, but it's one of those things where you kind of want to have a stockpile, in case they let you upgrade come 9.1.
Yeah, because if I get it done tomorrow and then get it done after lockout on Tuesday, I could then go to a tier 3 legendary. I haven't even crafted one yet on the mage, so it's just one of those things I'm debating. Like, do I spend it now and have to spend more money later, or what? But
Yeah.
I've just been so busy with real life commitments this week that it just kind of turned out that what, I could just hold it and get a tier 3 this coming week.
So of the 2 dungeons you ran this week, what did you think of the affixes? So we had Fortified, Sanguine, Grievous, and Prideful this week.
Sanguine is not really if your group has any sort of M plus IQ, that is not really a bad one at all,
No, I didn't think so either.
Yeah, not every class has, the best knockbacks for it, but we ran with 2 druids and Demon Hunter. And Demon Hunter tanks are the flavor of the month, so if you kite and do the right things, you should be pretty good. Sanguine was nothing. Grievous, kind of annoying. It was not the worst affix out there, but once or twice I just kind of thought, man, this thing really sucks. The changes they made to it, to where if you put a heal on somebody, it eliminates a stack of the Grievous.
Mm-hmm.
Versus the old way it did was until they hit 90%, they were just constantly stacking up. So it's just, digging you a deeper hole.
Right.
And I think it's a lot smoother now, not as bad. It just keeps your healer really busy.
Yeah, I noticed that. I healed one today on my priest, and it wasn't too bad. I'm trying to think which one I did on 14. Maybe it was just a mist or something like that. I think it was a mist. And it wasn't bad. I looked at, I forget which website it is, but there's a website that uses real data and then it organizes the classes based on completion rate into like different tiers, right?
Right.
And this week, I think pretty much everyone was down in like the F tier. Like no one really does well with Grievous. I don't know if people just don't handle Sanguine and Grievous together well, but it wasn't a very healer friendly week. But I don't know, for me, it didn't feel too bad in the one dungeon that I healed.
What was the first one we did? Because I know we did the other side second.
Was it Mist? I can't remember if you were in that group or not. I know today I did a 14 Mist, so that must have been me that healed that one. We did the other side, and yeah, you healed 2 of them.
There were 2 monks the first time, and we swapped out the monk for the mage for the other side.
Oh, we did Plaguefall, right? Didn't we do Plaguefall?
No.
No? Okay. I run so many keys every week. I don't know.
The 14 seemed very, very easy, and we timed that with plenty of time left. But the other side was kind of heartbreaking because one guy needed it for KSM, and we missed it by 10 seconds.
For that guy specifically, I've actually been running that with him all week with different groups. And we did a 16 of it on Thursday or Friday. Yeah, Friday. We did a 16 of the other side on Friday, and we missed the timer. We had just a random pug shaman from Ragnaros that decided to yeet himself off the side of the platform right as we pulled a pride, and so we ended up wiping. He literally, you know how as you're walking down, you can skip one of the red guys that pulses, and you can jump over the side and skip him on the very first pride.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had literally pulled the entire thing there, right? The 2 giant guys that you have to dispel, plus like the dinosaur pack, right before you spawn the pride. And so we had like a fire mage with us that was just blowing everything up. And so we spawned the pride, and then we realized we didn't have our healer. And so 4 of us were pre-made, and our 1 healer decided to throw himself off the side. Like he just literally jumped off the platform. And so we wiped our group that way. So we lost a bunch of time there. We lost a bunch of time to the hallway boss before the Ardenweald section. So literally just people being impatient. I think we died once trying to pull a giant pole to the actual pot in the Ardenweald section. Just a lot of unfortunate things. And so we reset the 16, we did the 15. I think we missed the 15 by probably 20 seconds. And then we did another 15 with you, and we missed it by 10 seconds. So just really weird.
I can say that that was a tough one when I was working on KSM for myself.
Yeah.
And it always comes down to that last Ardenweald room with all the little bird beak guys.
Yeah, I think they're called like break beaks or something.
Break beaks, yeah. That's kind of what scuffed us a little bit. We did the first big pulls in the room, and then there's the last little stretch where you grab a bunch of stuff and run to the pot right before the sleeping dragon. And everything was going good, and then the tank just all of a sudden fell over. Like there's full 100% health, and then he was dead.
Well, I wasn't actually tanking this run, and he probably had the same thought that I have. Okay. So when I'm tanking, I grab everything. When we first walk into Ardenweald, I grab 4 of the packs together. So right when you walk in, there's 3 of the guys to the right. I grab those. I grab all the flowers. I grab one of the padding deer packs, and I grab something else. So it's 4 of the groups together, which is a lot of ads. Nothing really hurts, so that's not a big deal. Then I grab 2. I grab 1 on the bridge, and then the one right before that. So that spawns the pride, and then after that, I basically grab every bird in the instance and drag it to that pot. And by the time I get to the pot, my mind is, okay, he sees me, I'm close enough, because that pot has a huge range. He needs to pop that thing, like, basically as I'm walking around the corner. And I have yet to, like, really see anyone pop it when, in my mind, I think it needs to be popped. And I have a feeling he did the exact same thing, the tank that was with us. I bet you he came around the corner thinking, okay, I'm safe because I've got them all gathered up here. And then there's like another 3 seconds where there's just dead time of 3 seconds waiting for the person to actually click the pot.
Well, he died after the stun.
Yeah, but he probably popped all the stuff in panic because he thought it was going to go off earlier, you know?
Right. And it was one of those situations where I immediately B-resed him, but then, people got pecked down immediately.
Right, because he doesn't have aggro on anything because he had just died.
Right. So it kind of started a little bit of a snowball effect where we try to keep the pool alive.
Yeah.
And then we just ended up wasting a little bit of time, and then we were having to do a little bit of math on the way down, which I think we were pretty efficient, to be honest with you. There's that last little invisible guys right before the boss that we pull. And then I have always seen anybody trying to get extra percentage out of the rest of that little, side hallway down to the left right before the boss. Yeah. And I've never seen anybody not scuff that. And the guy actually grabbed one without pulling all the little hatchlings.
Yeah, I didn't even know that section really even existed until recently. For me personally, I don't pull the 3 invisible guys right before the dealer boss in Ardenweald. I typically have my count perfected to where the last pull is like a deer pack or stuff like that right at the end. That's typically my pride. But I see a lot of people pull that invisible pack, and then if they miss it, occasionally you can go down. There's like a little walkway where that invisible pack is, and there's actually more trash down there that you can pull, but there's 2 hatchlings, which is kind of lethal because if either of them get a screech off, then you end up pulling just a ton of stuff. But this guy ended up pulling a single bird without aggroing the hatchlings, which was really perfect actually for what we were doing.
And he looked like he was right on top of the 2 hatchlings too.
Which is kind of
I've seen that just completely kill some keys there, and I was like, oh, this is it right here. This is where it happens. And then he came out. It was like clean as could be. Then the boss was clean right there, and we went back up. Funny story was you clicked the little teleporter to take you back up to the top with Grievous on you and died on the way up.
That sounds like a healer's fault, especially a druid. He should have had hots on me so I could have gone the whole way without dying.
And then we pulled Muzala or whatever his name is, and I blew my Heart of the Wild and Convoke on the little mini boss. And when we came back, I was just pure DPSing my heart out, and then I felt like we had stabilized and got the run back on course. And 10 freaking, in fact, I think it wasn't even 10; it was 9 seconds. So it was just kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah, and I'm kind of skipping ahead in the script here, but I think next week is actually a pretty good week, and I don't feel bad because I think it's very doable next week. So next week is actually Tyrannical, which, I mean, most people don't like pushing on a Tyrannical week, but I feel like Raging and Quaking really aren't that big of a deal. So Raging specifically on a Tyrannical week basically makes the mobs feel like a Fortified week, if that makes sense, because they're not doing the Fortified affix damage. And so for the last 30% of their health, I mean, they essentially just turn into Fortified mobs for the last 30% of their health. And then Quaking is kind of a no-brainer. So I think next week, the Tyrannical bosses are going to be hard, but the trash itself is going to be a joke.
Right, but they do have that fortified damage, but they're not going to have the fortified health. So they will hit that 30% and then get burned down pretty quickly.
Right.
Specifically for your buddy trying to get KSM, I would only worry about Tyrannical.
The dealer boss, yeah.
The Arden Wheel boss, whatever that guy is, the brokered guy.
Yeah, the broker guy.
Those mechanics are just so overtuned on Tyrannical Week with the passing the little debuff around, which most people don't even realize that is a mechanic, because on 44 weeks he gets burned so fast that it doesn't really jump around too much.
Mm-hmm.
But Tyrannical, it's just like you have to min-max that while also watching the traps on the ground, make sure people are jumping up with the bomb. And then we had crazy stuff happen on top of that where somebody has the debuff.
Right.
They get the bomb, and they go up in the air, and then they're technically on like a different plane at that point, and they just end up debuffing their self again.
The thing is, as well, I mean, most people don't realize this, but the damage from that lightning, it's instant, right? And then nothing else happens afterwards. To my knowledge, nothing else happens afterwards. And so you actually have to, not only do you have to coordinate who gets the debuff next, but they have to pop their defensive before it actually is applied to them, because they can't get it applied to them and then pop it, because that doesn't do anything. The damage is instant.
Right.
And so it's kind of twofold, right? You got to coordinate that, and then you also have to like coordinate who has a defensive ready before they actually take it. And really, the smart thing to do is to give it to the tank, basically every other person, because the tank can deal with it pretty efficiently.
But you also have the even with a cooldown there, some sort of defensive. If you've got bomb, if it gives it to you to yourself when you're up in the air, that's almost like a one shot. So
yeah,
it's kind of, I don't know. You have to just do it so clean on a place where you don't have the luxury of time.
It's definitely amplified on a Tyrannical week. So
definitely doable though. I think if he could definitely get it on that week. But I will say 2 weeks from now it's supposed to be the push week.
Oh really? What is it?
It's fortified and maybe bursting, but it's
actually, yeah, I think it's bursting volcanic. Maybe that kind of rings a bell.
Volcanic bursting. That's right, and that's supposed to be like S tier push week. Get your IO that week. So
yeah, and I think we should. I think a lot of people are getting burned out on like doing anything right now, but especially if you have KSM, like no one wants to run keys. Like no one really wants to run the raid anymore. Everyone's just kind of like PvPing. But I would like to see my number turn orange. I think that's a pretty high bar, but it'd be kind of cool to see my.
Where does the orange happen?
I think 20s. I think it happens at like 2K now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's probably not realistic unless you just have a group that's willing to put a lot of time in. But yeah, even like 1800 would be kind of nice. Like getting a set of like 18s down or something like that would be pretty legit.
I'm gonna challenge us on 2 weeks from now when we have that big push week.
Yeah.
I'd like to get 17s and all,
I'd be down for that. I think that would be a pretty respectable score. That'd probably put us around 1500 or so. I tried a 17 halls probably 3 weeks ago at this point, and we barely mistimed it. We tried to do something cheeky, kind of like what they do in the MDI, where you get to the last guy that does the oh man, I can't think what the ability's called, but he sucks the health from all the ads in the room.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
Halls of Atonement?
Yeah, Halls of Atonement. So in the last room, right before the last boss, basically everyone goes in and blows their load on all the ads, to prevent them from healing. But in the MDI, what they do is they just nuke the boss. So it's a really big time save. And we had all of our cooldowns, we had Lust, and we were cutting it pretty close on the timer, 3 weeks ago. And so I just had everyone blow their load on the boss with Lust. And I mean, we got him down to 2%, and he got that ability off. And I don't know if I did something wrong from a tanking perspective, if I was just holding him in the wrong place, but in MDI, he only healed up halfway. When I did it, he healed up all the way. And so we burned our key, but I don't know, 17 didn't feel that bad.
Well, the question is, are you doing the line of sight strat where you go around the corner, or are you just
Well, I think I did. I think I had him around the corner a little bit, but people are saying you need to have him like further back towards like where the boss is. You have to like pull him up the stairs a little bit there. But they said also it can like evade right there, and so it's not really advised to do it. And we had a boomkin with us. I think the play was like to blow Lust and just honestly have the boomkin go nuts on the ads, like in retrospect. But I don't know. I think 17s are doable.
yeah, and plus our gear is much higher, and on the MDI so something that I dislike about MDI is they crank their gear all the way up to 229.
Yeah, it's almost 230, which is nuts.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy. So you see them doing a lot of stuff you don't see live just because they are so overtuned. But yeah, I think I think that's a good goal for us. It is the first season, and it is going to be ending soon when 9.1 hits.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. They said March is when 9.0.9 is, or 5, I'm sorry, is going to come out. So I would guess 9.1 is probably April. They'll probably give it a month just to make sure everything is testing correctly. But yeah, I'm actually hearing that the new mount for season 2 is basically just going to be a recoloring of the mount from season 1, which is actually pretty lame.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah, I don't know if you heard that or not, but Lights was telling me that apparently the new mount is just going to be a recoloring.
That's kind of a letdown.
Yeah, it's really low effort. We were thinking, the two of us were talking, and we think season 1 should have been like a version of the actual Pride that spawns. They should have somehow turned that into a mount, so you actually knew like what season you got the mount in. Because the mount that you get for KSM right now doesn't like relate to anything at all. It's just a random mount,
Right.
So
and see, that's what I liked about BFA was they had different mounts for every season.
yeah.
And my favorite season was the very end one, and it was the ugliest mount ever. It was just that little worm. So I don't know. It was based off the old Nyalotha.
Oh, okay.
Which
Yeah.
is all that tentacle stuff, anyways. But it was just one of those little worms, and it was kind of ugly in my opinion. But still kind of cool. It was like way to flex a little bit. Like, hey, I did this.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they'll do something cool. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe even like a recoloring because it's like an elemental, right? So I guess you could make those look pretty cool. But I mean, there's already so many versions of that mount, and it's not like they really put a lot of effort into this mount. Anyways, it's basically just an upscaled version of one of the elemental mounts that already exist, and then they just put a platform on it. Like if you do like the spacebar animation where it like flexes, it's exactly the same as like a model that already existed. So. It's kind of sad they put low effort in M+, but I guess it is what it is.
Yeah, and that's it's kind of reflected with when you look back at some of the loot options you have.
Yeah,
I think that they didn't want M+ to be the big thing, and they purposely kind of nuked it a little bit, and then they got all that feedback, and people were just like, this is kind of what we want to do.
So the big topic this week is BlizzCon. So obviously BlizzCon was on Friday and Saturday. And they talked about, well, I'd say probably 50% of the panels were World of Warcraft, probably 45% were Diablo, and then they jammed probably 3% into Overwatch, and then Heroes of the Storm and StarCraft were basically non-existent. But
right, BlizzCon line.
Yeah, BlizzCon line.
I'm still upset about that name, but But yeah, the big news coming out was Diablo 2 Remastered, which that's kind of your cup of tea. I never really got to Diablo at all.
Yeah, so I love Diablo 3. We have another friend, Lights. The two of us typically go on there, and we're always top 10. Within, like, we play the crap out of the game for the first week. And typically, I'll hit somewhere in between rank 1 to 5 on the Demon Hunter leaderboard.
Mm-hmm.
And then as a 2s combination, typically we'll place in the top 10 somewhere. And so Diablo 2, I'm kind of about it. I never played Diablo 2.
That was going to be my question, because that is kind of like the gold standard that Diablo players usually kind of reminisce about. Like, oh man, Diablo 2 was the best. Kind of like how WoW players talk about Wrath of the Lich King.
Yeah. Well, I think Diablo 2 doesn't I think it was a great game with a lot of like really great systems that people miss, but I don't think there was an end game whatsoever. Where in Diablo 3 is essentially like M plus in World of Warcraft, where you essentially do a dungeon and every time you complete it in time, you get a harder dungeon, right? Harder version of the dungeon. It's very similar to M plus.
That's how I kind of talked you into M plus this season.
Yeah, true.
Was I was like, you love Diablo 2, you love climbing those ladders. I said M plus is very similar.
So for those listening, I wasn't really interested in doing Mythic Plus this season because I never really got into it in BFA. And I didn't really understand Raider IO. I always thought it was just kind of like this elitist system where it's kind of like gear score, where everyone basically wants you to have a higher score than what's required to actually do anything. Right? So, let's say the raid drops 150 eye level gear. People are always like, oh, you got to be 160 to do this 150 raid. And so I always thought that's what Raider IO was. And so, yeah, Spoogy talked me into kind of trying out M Plus this season after I kind of figured out what Raider IO is. And now I'm kind of really the one that runs M Plus like on a daily basis, which is kind of funny.
If I had more time, I'd definitely be hitting it a lot harder.
Yeah.
But going back to BlizzCon, I didn't even know like Overwatch 2 was a thing.
yeah. They've got it's essentially like it's kind of like Call of Duty, where the game has gotten so big that they decided just to come out with a new game, because they didn't want it all to fit on one download.
Right.
And I believe Overwatch 2 is going to have PvE elements to it, and then they're reworking some of the systems.
That's actually kind of cool because Overwatch originally was supposed to be Project Titan, which was their first person shooter MMO that got scrapped, and they used some of those same resources to kind of build the skeleton of Overwatch.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's kind of
cool.
They do some pretty good PvE content. Like I like Junkyard's Revenge that they do around October for Halloween. I think we've done that together before in the past.
Yeah, we did that together. That was the haunted house one, and you had the waves of things coming at you.
Yeah, it's like kind of like a tower defense almost, where you're defending the gate. And that's actually a lot of fun. Like we had a lot of fun with that. So
we missed it this year. I'm kind of sad. I didn't even think about that.
I did actually download it. I kind of downloaded it thinking that maybe we'd do it, and we never did get around to it. But
Phasmophobia got us in October.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, we went hard on Phasmophobia.
that was our October Halloween theme game that we did. So yeah, we missed it this year. But that was fun looking back on it. They did do PvE kind of good. So it's kind of got me a little excited for Overwatch too.
Yeah. Now that we're talking about it, I agree with that. And I actually watched a video on it today. They put a video out, which I think they showed in BlizzCon, but I watched the recap of it, and they recreated Rome and New York City as two of the playable maps, and it looks like they did a pretty good job. Like it looks like they tried to actually recreate it from historical pictures and everything like that. So they try to make it somewhat accurate, and it looks pretty good.
Please tell me the Coliseum is in there.
Yeah, it's in it. I don't know if I don't know if it's just in the background. I don't think they showed if you can actually like fight in the Coliseum, but it looks like it's in the background at least.
That's still kind of cool though.
Yeah, it looks like they did a pretty good job. So yeah, exciting things with Overwatch 2.
The other, I should say, WoW news was the announcement of Burning Crusade Classic. Did you ever play Burning Crusade?
So I was a pretty young kid when WoW came out, and I had dial-up and a computer that the monitor was about a foot across. So some really old school tech. So I didn't really get to play WoW really during that time, but I had a friend in high school who had a couple of iMacs. And actually, really, my first WoW experience was played on an iMac. And I think I technically started leveling during BC. And I probably maxed out right at the end of BC because I recall buying the expansion. And then I remember going to GameStop to actually buy Wrath of the Lich King as the expansion. So I must have had a max character, at least, Wrath ready by the end of Classic. But I didn't get to do all the raids and everything that everyone has all the nostalgia about.
Yeah, me neither. My brother got me into WoW, and we played Classic kind of on and off. It was kind of a fun thing because he was in the Army, and I was still in. I was kind of high school, freshman in college, and then Burning Crusade hit, and I really didn't play too much except he was deployed to Iraq. Him and his platoon sergeant. He actually got sent somewhere else from the rest of his unit, and he was a signal officer. So they let him pick. Like, who do you want to go with you? And so he picked who as Eddie. took him with him, and I played with those two guys. It was kind of like a slow leveling process where we just kind of smell the roses and have fun and did some PvP. And of course, it was a slower process to level back then, anyways. But
Yeah. I remember spending like a month in Silithus. Sorry, go ahead.
oh yeah, but it was just one of those smell the roses thing, and
Yeah.
their internet was Iraqi internet. It was horrible back in 2000, what, 6 or 7, somewhere in there. And then right at the end of their tour, Wrath of the Lich King, and because they actually got extended, they were there for dang near 18 months or something. I mean, it was almost like a year and a half, which is crazy to think about now.
Yeah.
But they were sitting in Baghdad airport, BIOP, playing the launch of Wrath of the Lich King off, one of those little external hard drives, and you just plug it up to the terminal, and they were playing off that. And at one point, my brother was actually leading the first to 80 grind on our server, which was it wasn't Kel'Thuzad or Arthas, it was one of the smaller.
Vashj'e.
Vashj'e. It was Vashj'e.
Vash.
Yeah.
Vash. I don't know.
Yeah. Vash, whatever. We always call it Vashj'e, but he was actually ahead for a while before he actually had to unplug and they had to jump on the plane. It was kind of cool that they were actually in the lead for a little bit. He was playing a Death Knight, maybe.
Could you download direct back then? Maybe you could, and I was just like behind the times because I remember going to GameStop to get the disc. Could you actually just download the data?
I'm pretty sure you could. Yeah, I think you could pay for it on the website and upgrade your account, and just download the patch when it came.
That's actually so crazy though. Just thinking about that, like how long ago that wasn't. That was a really awkward way of saying that, but that really wasn't that long ago, and just like how the technology has changed.
Oh, completely night and day. They may have even had a little GameStop or something in Baghdad.
Really?
Once you're like in like the little area, I mean, man, you got Burger King, you got everything. Wherever they were, for most of the deployment was the size of a football field. It was a much different story out there. It was so small that the people trying to mortar them were missing because it was such a tiny target. They're a little tiny little fob there.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, and so that I really don't have like that nostalgia for BC. Like I remember kind of playing it and us messing around, and like my stories from BC are not the raids and all the big content. It's the stupid stuff. Like I remember I had a little bit of I've done a little bit of PvP, and I was like level 69, and we were trying to make some twinks, right? Some level 19 twinks. And one of the things we had to get the Gurabashi Arena trinket, which required you to loot it 10 times. There were 3 of us, so that was like 30 loots we had to do. And I remember, you jump into the arena, then like your tag for anybody can attack you, except for whoever's in your party. And I remember I was a level 69 mage, and there was a level 70 mage just kind of flexing, waiting for the trinket to drop. And I jumped in and 1v1'd him and won. And that was like the highlight of like my entire year when I did that. And we ended up getting the trinket. And so, yeah, like my story's the classic, Burning Crusade classic. I don't really know the raids. I don't know all that in-game stuff, but just it's more personal stories for me. So I don't really have that. Let me go jump in that and relive those stories.
Yeah, I remember Burning Crusade was kind of cool, though. I think that's where they introduced flying, right? So flying was a thing then. I mean, the Outlands are awesome. Yeah, Arena for the first time. I mean, the Outlands are just awesome. Like, that's still just a really, really cool place to be. The mounts back then were really cool, too. I'm trying to think what the flyers are actually called, but I remember you had to farm the rep, and there's like little eggs scattered around on the island. I remember doing that in like one sitting. You could essentially do like this quest line, to get your reputation up, but then it like capped, on a daily basis. But you could go around and collect all these eggs to turn in to get additional rep that just randomly spawned, around the island. Yeah, I remember doing that and getting that in one sitting. That's still one of my favorite mounts. I think those look pretty good.
It was a great expansion because the zones were really beautiful. They brought in a lot of new stuff, like you said. The whole flying thing was great, Arena.
Mm-hmm.
But then you had like the first neutral city or hub.
Yeah.
With Shatrath.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, it was a lot of stuff that we still use today, which is great. And it could be fun, but it wasn't the biggest announcement to me.
Yeah, and I don't think I don't think the classic series is quite as nostalgic as people reminisce about, because I mean, back then, you you only knew the people on your server, and you knew the people on your server. You know what I mean? You knew the guy that spammed in trade chat all day.
Right.
You know, and nowadays you don't. You know, you see someone in trade chat, you don't know who that guy is. You know, it's just someone from some other server most of the time or whatever. You know,
on retail, if you get ganked on your lobby, and you get on your main and fly out there, you're never going to find the guy because of sharding, you know? So it's, you know, things like that, you know, that was like the big flex, you know, it's like, are you going to kill me? Am I going to have to bring my main out? You know, that kind of, you know,
call
things
my homies over to come help me out. Yeah.
Right. You had no look for group tool there. So you had to spam, you know, in trade chat to get somebody. And
well, that's one thing too. Like Blizzard is constantly talking about how they want to like make world PvP happen again. Like that's never gonna happen on the same level again, right? Like the Warzone thing or like the war mode thing. It's not the same thing at all because like you just don't care, right? Everything is cross server. You're never gonna see the guy again. You know, and back then it was personal because you're on the same server. You know, you're competing in the same auction house with the same. You know, all the guilds wanted to compete with each other, like not on a global basis, but like on a local basis, right? Like all the players competed, you know, like all you knew the best guilds from every server, right? Which I guess you still do, but everything was just more personal back then.
Red Ridge Mountains, man. I remember there was this fire mage out there camping me, and I remember it was like personal because, you know, he would go over and like cannibalize my body afterwards and heal up. And it you know, it pissed me off. And, you know, you're calling in on the, you know, the defense network channel on, you know, you can type in.
Yeah.
You know, that was actually used. And, you know, you're calling out, you know, all the information you can. And, you know, if they were 10 levels ahead of you, all you saw was, you know, the skull mark. You didn't know what level they actually were.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember one time my brother and I were like level 20, 30, and somehow we were Alliance, and we managed to make it all the way from the Eastern Kingdoms over to Kalimdor, and we went all the way to the Tarn starting area, which, you know, you couldn't target them, but if they attacked you, you could kill them. And I remember we killed like a level 12, and we were so proud of it. Like, ha, we got you. Yeah, come at us, you know, and you know, probably hurted out. But yeah, it was a different game at the end. Plus, I think the entire population was much younger.
True.
You know, the WoW population. You know, we still have, you know, young kids coming in, which is awesome.
Yeah, but, no, you know, that's definitely a good point. Yeah, I think the average age, I don't know, I'm just making this up, but I bet you the average age is around 30.
And so you also have people now with time commitments.
Right.
You know, I remember the days where you could just sit there an entire weekend and just blow the entire weekend, you know, playing WoW and have no cares in the world. But you can't do that anymore. So it's, you know, I think the game, like retail itself, has actually kind of matured with us a little bit. Because, I mean, look back at some of the grinds we used to have to do. I loaded up on WoW Classic thinking, yes, let's do this, you know? And I immediately was like, wow, the quality of life stuff was
well worth it. Yeah.
Well worth it. Yeah. Like, you know, just rep grinds and then just so much silly stuff that I, you know, didn't mind as a kid, but as an adult, I'm like, look, dude, I only got like 2 hours. So,
yeah.
But.
Okay. Moving on from the TBC Classic. You wanted to talk about Q&A and imbalance?
Yeah, they had a little bit of Q&A, and some of the stuff was, I know one of the big, I guess, thorns in the side with the Q&A was there's going to be 0 customization planned for the rest of the expansion. You know, no more new changing the way the characters look. And that was actually really big on Reddit, and I've been reading, you know, all these people complaining about it. I guess they promised some ahead of time, and then they're kind of going back on that. I personally don't care.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's something I don't really care
I can have
about,
an Eeyore character that looks completely stupid, and if I'm cranking, I'm happy, you know?
Yeah.
The other big Q&A that came out of it was Ian acknowledged that there's a big imbalance with the factions.
Okay.
Right? So let's just look at rating, for example. How many Alliance guilds do you honestly see at the top?
Well, I mean, I think everyone knows the reason for that, but the Horde have historically had better racials. And so the PvEs...
But they rebalanced them.
Well, kind of. I mean, I still think like Ore Control, you know, probably still sim at the top, if we're being honest. And even from like I think from a PvP perspective, I think the Alliance probably has the edge. But from a PvE perspective, I think just raw sim numbers, I think the Horde pulls ahead.
Uh, I
Like what out classes like an orc? Like I can't think of anything that does.
well, the troll has the crit maybe.
Troll has like attack speed, right? It's haste.
Well,
It's like a mini
I'll
bloodlust.
tell you Ian's point of view, right?
Yep. Okay.
He is basically arguing that they buffed Alliance to the point where Alliance is supposedly supposed to be ahead of the Horde, right? And it didn't actually change anything.
Hmm.
Now you can argue that not really, but I mean if you look at M plus, you see some very strong racials,
Well, Shadow Meld is OP, but
right? And then the PvP they do have some really good stuff there too, but overall you've got a massive rating population on one, and it's the same thing with M plus. It's a lot more dry on the Alliance side when you're trying to put together groups than Horde side. And
well,
I
it's
can
it's all it's the same players though, right? I mean, the people that do all the mythic rating are like the people that do all the high M pluses as well.
well, right. And so I saw that firsthand because we were Alliance last expansion and we became Horde this expansion.
Hmm.
And I guess I never really noticed it until I saw the other side. I never really thought about it too much. But yeah, there is a big imbalance. But I think he basically said, we see it, but we don't really know what to do about it. And that got some people talking, and it was kind of a interesting topic because I think one of the big problems is you have a lot of people get invested, maybe into their character, but maybe also into the communities as well, right? So if all your friends are on one side, you can't play on the other side. And some people have kind of mentioned that maybe we should just drop the whole Horde and Alliance thing in
Well,
terms in game.
I think that would be a quality of life improvement. I don't know how you get away with that from like you have to basically build an expansion about Unity, right? You'd have to somehow do that lore wise and make it work. And then two, I mean that's a huge money maker for Blizzard, right? The actual faction changes. And
Right.
so I don't know how you do that. Unless you just up the subscription price, which will piss off people. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know how to actually fix it myself, but that was like the two big takeaways, I think. Actually, there was three big takeaways from the Q&A. The third one was the PvP solo queue.
Yeah, so I guess I'll talk about that briefly. So
Right.
it's kind of a heated topic where there's not really a reason why people can't solo queue in PvP, right? Whether it be twos or threes. I mean, there's not really much of a difference from looking for group, right, and then finding some random person and then getting pissed off and leaving anyways.
Right.
Than having some random partner, from a solo queue perspective. And I mean, the rounds are only 3 to 5 minutes anyways. So, if you compare that to a game like League of Legends where you're locked in for 30 minutes versus a game like World of Warcraft, where you have like these 3 to 5 minute rounds, it doesn't really make sense why it doesn't exist. And, so that's kind of the topic that was at hand. And there's benefits to having maybe a solo queue ladder opposed to having like a pre-made ladder.
You could do it like League as well, and you have a solo queue ladder, and then you have the group queue. Two different rankings. You could do that as well.
Yeah, and I don't see a reason why they shouldn't do it. And I think that would be a big feature for them to include. I think that would make PvP more desirable for a lot of people. But I think there'd be a lot of trolling as well.
Yeah, I think they have a huge aversion to any sort of elo,
Yeah.
and I never quite could get inside of Ian's head to understand why they seem to not want any sort of elo system, but people love it, right? Like, I mean, in some sense, aversion because it's not really elo because you can't really go down. But I mean, look, people love Radier IO.
To me, WoW seems like, I mean, there's all kinds of levels to WoW, right? There's casual play, then I mean, there's basically only two kinds of players, right? There's casual players, and then there's people that take it super seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the people that take it super seriously, they're the ones that basically get screwed all the time by basically every Blizzard decision. Like nothing that happens on Blizzard's end ever really benefits the people that play the game seriously, the players that spend all the money, to min-max their characters, the ones that are actually spending the money to faction change and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I think Blizzard caters to the casual player too much.
Probably because that's probably a good chunk of their population. Yeah, that was the big three things I would say that came out of the Q&A. I think it kind of left an overall kind of bad taste in the WoW players' mouth. I guess the big news for BlizzCon and WoW specifically is 9.1, which we called would be probably released at BlizzCon, and it was, and it's the Chains of Domination.
Yeah, I think we did a pretty good job of calling several things, right? So we said 9.1, and you had mentioned you thought that the brokers, right, were going to have a big part in it. At least like some sort of like mega dungeon, right? And that's exactly what it is. We have a mega dungeon coming out.
Just like Karzhan or Mechagon.
Yep. So that's what the brokers, or the brokers or the dealers, sorry, am I mixing that up?
The artificers people.
Yeah.
I don't know what I call them the brokers. They may be called the dealers. I don't know.
Okay, so for those people that are listening, that actually are listening to us, so we're not good with lore. We basically play the game to like compete with each other, but you could ask us like the simplest lore question, and Spoogy probably has a better chance of actually being able to answer it. But for me, you could be like, "Hey, what's that zone called?" I'm like, I don't know, the one with the trees and the fairies. They're really annoying. They want their stupid flutes back.
Yeah. So my guess is that they're going to season 2 not be in the M+ rotation, and then they'll do kind of like they did in BFA or Legion, and they'll split it up. They did what Junkyard and whatever the higher one was.
Workshop,
and,
yeah.
Workshop, and probably 2 M+ that'll go into the rotation for season 3, which I don't agree with. I feel like those two kind of drag on. Oh, excuse me, the Mechagon itself drug on too long, because once you couple weeks in, it's worthless.
Right.
You kind of got what you needed out of it, and there's really no reason to not go ahead and put it in the M+ rotation.
I was gonna say, I hope they do like another mount again. I really like the Karazhan mount, where we have like a little special thing to do within the dungeon, to try to race through it and unlock the mount. Granted, it took us, like 3, I don't even remember at this point. It was like 2 rounds through and we got it, with a little bit of cheese, but we got it basically the first week.
Right, and that was fun. That was like, it was a challenge.
Yeah, that was so much fun.
It was a challenge, and it was, that small person content, which we love.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm excited about diving into that thing and knocking that out.
But you called the dealer / broker, I forget their names, but you called that, so good on you on that. New raid coming out, which is called the Sanctum of Domination, which is another 10 bosses, which I was wrong about that. I thought it was going to be just a small raid because of everything going on with COVID and everything, but good on them. Good on Blizzard. 10 bosses. Very cool. It's a Maw-based raid.
Torghast. I think we're actually entering a portion of Torghast, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. So, yeah, maybe that'll even be the raid entrance, actually. I think there is a meeting stone in there, come to think about it. So, yeah, we're fighting the Targru, which is the guy that, once you run out of lives, he chases you through Torghast until he catches you and throws you out. So we're fighting him. We're fighting Sylvanas, and we're fighting KT, which I called. Technically, I called that. So, good on Tarithal.
The big one, though, is KT. I got to give you credit. You did call KT. It's going to be making a return there.
Yeah, and I could kind of tell, because if you did the Venthyr questline, you could tell they intentionally added some like new, unique mechanics to him when you fought him like in your little mini scenario. So I think that was pretty obvious that he was going to be a raid boss, within the next patch cycle or 2.
Yeah, they are promising that the Sylvanas fight is going to be of epic proportions.
Really? Okay.
Kind of fitting the lore of, she's been kind of the bad guy behind the scenes for a while now. BFA, she burned down the tree and just kind of went off the track. By the end of BFA, she's just abandoning the Horde altogether and, ripping apart the Lich King's helmet and all that. The whole reason we're here is because of her. So it's a big, huge build-up. And they said it's going to, supposedly, the fight itself with all the mechanics, it's supposed to be worthy.
The Garrosh Hellscream fight, when he took over as leader of the Horde, that fight was really cool. I mean, they put a lot into that. There were a ton of mechanics. There were like 3 different phases, and it took you through like literally 3 or 4 different zones. I mean, the mythic version, I think back then it was just called heroic, but the hardest version that you could do had a phase 4, like a secret phase 4. I mean, it literally teleported you to like 3 different areas throughout the fight, and they put a lot of effort in. So, I mean, I could see them doing that again with another war chief, just making it really cool.
So I'm kind of excited about that.
And there's no way we kill her, right? I mean, she's like the person they put on their statues and all that kind of stuff. There's no way we actually kill her, right?
Maybe. The problem with this is we're not getting to the actual... We're going to fight the Eye of the Jailer, but we're not getting the jailer himself. I did not think we were going to Torghast this fast. I thought it was going to be towards the end, but they are expanding the mall. They're bringing in new zone to it,
which is pretty interesting. I mean, the way they're doing it sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's called Korthia. It's supposedly a long lost city that the jailer is pulling into the mall. Long lost from what? I have no idea.
It's kind of interesting because the splash art shows a player riding around on his mount, so it looks like we're gonna be able to ride maybe now in this new zone, anyways, which will be nice because I freaking hate trying to get through the mall without my mount, and I like refuse to go through the twisting corridors. I just don't want to put the time commitment in because it's not an actual player power upgrade.
Right.
So,
and I never felt that pain because I was on a druid until I started leveling alts. Oh my goodness, I feel the pain. I feel you on that one.
So, I mean, it looks pretty cool. It looks like it has some like some plants on it, and I don't think it's going to be like real maw themed. I think it's going to be like its own unique environment.
Well, the thing is, we are off the rails with the lore. Like all of this is brand new. Nothing from any of the old games has gone this far, and so they're pretty much writing it as we go. It's as far as I understand, and I feel like we're going to get a bigger bad revealed at the end of the expansion that we have to go into and fight.
The Rune Forger himself is very sus, and so I think we'll do something with him. I wouldn't be surprised to see like Arthas come back in some form,
because we have not seen him yet, right?
No, and I mean they keep hinting at things that are like very Arthas like, right? Like, is it Anduin right now that is possessed? Is that who it is?
Yeah, so Anduin gets possessed.
I mean that's very Arthas like, right?
Oh, it's exactly the same, but there's a key difference there. Arthas willingly picked up the sword. Anduin was forced to take it, right?
Okay.
And there's new cinematic out where he goes in and he wounds the Archon at Bastion, and as he's doing it, they show the facial expression that he underneath it all, he's like, I don't want to be doing this, And Arthas did have kind of like that redeeming, couple seconds with the ghost of his dad, as he's dying. But they had different entrances, I guess, to the bad side. Arthas picked it up willingly, Anduin didn't. So
I like how like 10 minutes ago I'm like, we don't know anything about lore, then we spent the next 10 minutes talking about lore. But anyways, yeah, Korthia looks pretty cool. I mean, the splash art they have of it has like this island that's attached to the mall by like these long chains, kind of like what you see in Torghast. It looks pretty cool.
They say the Covenants will strike back, and I really was not able to decipher what that meant. I think they want you to be able to pull the four together, kind of rally them up now that all their little problems have kind of been squashed. And because we'll be beating we kind of beat the campaign, but we'll be able to have them at full power again. Because I can speak for the Night Fae. All of my characters are Night Fae. But you are empowering the tree as you go, and it hits max power right here at the end. I don't know if they will let us be able to like swap easy between covenants or something, or if you pick more than one. I don't know, but
yeah, it would be kind of nice if they dropped the requirement to not be able to switch. It's annoying not being able to, especially if they're going to do a huge balance change. I mean, it's going to piss a lot of people off, and I'm already foreseeing having to change a couple different things.
Right. I don't want to have to grind through all that stuff again.
Yeah, and I also saw what they're doing now. Like, uniting the Covenants is kind of a cheesy way of them not having to write 4 new Covenant campaigns. So instead, they'll just do like a one unilateral, we're all united, and from here on out, everyone has the same quests, which makes sense. But
yeah, like I said, we have an older WoW population, I think, now, and I think most people would kind of appreciate that, even if it's kind of lazy on the storytelling side or maybe programming side. But the other big new thing is the seasonal effects.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get too much information about it, so neither of our predictions are going to get confirmed or denied.
Well, I heard they did say it's going to be thematic with the jailer, is what they said it's going to be. And I also heard it's going to be called Domination. I could be wrong on that, but I thought I heard it's actually going to be called Domination.
Yeah, but we really don't know, like, what is it? I mean, like, when I hear jailer theme, the first thing that pops in my head is mall rats. Like, I don't know, like, Domination, that could really be anything.
So here's my prediction, and I think I'm wrong, but I guess the initial thing when I think of the jailer, I think there's going to be a special kind of ad, like a jailer ad. And when you kill him, I think they're going to put him right in the middle of packs. And when you kill him, it's going to do like some sort of like sludge fist thing where it connects you to like another player or something like that. It's going to force everyone to stand like right next to each other. And if you like move too far away, it's going to like instantly kill you or something. I don't know. I'm kind of thinking like jailer where everyone's like chained together somehow.
Regardless, I mean, that would make sense, jailer chains.
Yeah.
Regardless, I hope it changes M plus up. Not necessarily teleport around, the place, but something to kind of freshen it up, make people look at their routes and really kind of change up how they do things. So.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I just have this feeling like it's going to be, I don't know. I think that's what it's going to be. I think it's going to be like a positioning based affix where it's exactly that. Like there's some sort of ad, and when you kill it, you have to kill everything else in the area, but you're somehow going to be not able to like move far away or something. Like you're going to be chained up, and it's going to be really obnoxious.
I hope that you are completely 100% wrong.
I hope so too, because that actually just doesn't sound fun. But
no, the sludge fits. I hated being chained to other people because it was a one-shot mechanic that people had trouble grabbing a hold of. The one thing that is kind of dorky that I'm excited about is they're actually going to be bringing out more Covenant armor sets.
Okay.
Which, I like having the transmog game and bringing more stuff to that. So I think all of my characters are actually wearing the Night Face set. So
is that going to be a power spike? Is that going to be like a tier set? Do you know, or is that just transmog?
No tier sets. That is pure transmog.
Okay.
The raid itself, the Sanctum of Domination, is not going to have a tier set, which upsets some people because supposedly, I guess they said pre-expansion they were going to bring those back, but they're kind of pushing that back as well.
I don't like tier sets. I think it overpowers non-alt characters because the difference in between a tier set character and an alt character is enormous. You can see it just in pretty much every expansion. Anyone, whether you have, I don't know, I guess it's not even like a tier set, but what was it called last time? Like you could buy it from the vendor and then apply it on your gear.
Oh, corruption.
Yeah, corruption.
Yeah.
Just having
insane power spike.
Yeah. I mean, it's exactly the same way with tier sets, though, right? I mean, people that keep up with their characters and have these tier sets, it's night and day between main characters and alt characters. So I don't know. I'm happy not having it.
Corruption was a very, very unique scenario, but yeah, that was completely broken. But what they're going to do is the actual like armor sets that you get out of the raid are going to be the same models as the legendary gear that you have now. It's going to have that look. So it's kind of like got the big tall like jailer spiky crowns and things. I looked at some of them. They're not ugly, but they are going to make weapons that match it. As far as like what the actual raid gear will look like is going to be the legendary items that we already have.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm hoping 9.1 is good and that we don't have to change too much, like in terms of our actual covenants.
Yeah,
that's a lot of time to have to redo all of that.
That's pretty much what I spent my entire week doing. Like I said, I was on a kind of a time crunch anyways with personal stuff, a lot of family events going on this week. And so I was just grinding through on my mage trying to catch up on the Covenant. So I would be very sad if we had to start doing that, with all of our tunes.
Yeah, but that sounds exactly like what Blizzard will do. So I'm kind of expecting it.
More time logged in for them. They get more mileage out of their content that they release. The longer they make you have to do it.
All right, I think that about wraps it up for us. Before we sign off for the night, just wanted to mention we do have a Discord. If you have been listening to our podcast, come hang out with us. You can find our Discord link on YouTube. So if you search the Depleted Key podcast on YouTube, you should be able to find us, and there's a link to our Discord there. Any kind of feedback you want to give to us, or if you just want to pop in and say hi, hey, we'd love to see you. Also, we're available on all major podcast providers. Anything else you want to say?
Nope. Have a good week.
All right. Take care.